conversation about our true nature, accessing the space within, and living in and from the deeper mind. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you very much.
I'm happy to be here with you and to begin to explore these concepts of, as I mentioned, our true nature, the space within. And as I said in the intro, you are the creator of the Hay House online course, The Path of Effortless Change. And I have to say that I, and I'm sure all of our listeners, want to hear more about this effortless change you speak of.
What is this effortless change that you speak, man?
Exactly.
Make yourself plain, please. We have lives to get on with. Well, it's a really interesting thing that I stumbled on completely by accident, because I thought I understood change. I thought I was an expert in the art of change. I was a master trainer in neuro-linguistic programming, and I had all these ideas about why it was that I was able to help people change. But there were always these anomalies where people would just kind of change all by themselves, like before I got to them. You know, these sort of spontaneous changes. Exactly, right. And it was like, wait a minute, I didn't do anything yet. Get back here. And I at a certain point, it was actually around 2007, started to go, this isn't random. There are principles behind this. There are consistent things at play that make this possible. And the best analogy I've got for it, at least at the moment, is if you know, I'm sure you're familiar with the idea that, and there are variations on it, but you know, to change a lifelong habit takes 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 45 days, whatever, right? Well, here's the thing. If you went to work the same way for 20 years, and it took an hour, and there was always traffic, and it was kind of a barren road, and then one day you saw a shortcut that had always been there, but you just never seen it. It would get you there in 15 minutes, and it was through the woods, and it was lovely, and there was never any traffic. How many days would it take for you to start going the new way? And pretty much everyone can see, well, I'd start going the new way immediately.
Right.
Well, that's the real nature of change. That, yes, if we want to condition it and we want to make it happen kind of against our will, if we want to break a habit, sure, that takes time and repetition and practice. But actually, the brain is a lot smarter than you think. And if you show it a genuinely better way, if it sees for itself, if you see for yourself something that's more true than what you've been thinking, it's game over. Like if you've been drinking something your whole life and you think, oh, this is, you know, what a lovely, slightly bitter cordial. And then somebody says, you know, that thing you're drinking is arsenic. You would be done, right? There would be no detox program needed. There would be no intervention from your family needed. You would stop because nobody willfully drinks arsenic.
Right.
And it's the same at every level. When we struggle to change, it's because we don't really see a better way, but we think we should change anyways. When change is effortless, it's because we genuinely and insightfully see a better way for ourselves.
I love that. Thank you. And it makes, you know, of course, it makes perfect and clear sense.
And that's kind of annoying to me, because I spent so many years working so hard to make people change, and to make myself change.
Of course. Well, yeah, because we can only make ourselves change, right? and
to see that so much of it was right there for the taking. I mean, I'm obviously kidding about being disappointed, but only kind of.
I know.
I really was.
But it's also, but it speaks to how we definitely make things more difficult for ourselves than they need to be, or that they even are.
Well, and I remember being with a client when I'd begun to see this, but I hadn't really seen the principles behind it yet. And I was sitting with a client, and we started going through this ritual for his self-esteem, and it was the first time in my life where I thought, oh my God, I'm like a witch doctor. I'm doing a dance with this guy in order to kind of impress him so that he'll change, when actually he's already fine. And that was when I began to see that a lot of the things that we do that we think cause change are noise in the system. They're rituals that kind of reassure us that it's okay to change. They're not actually the causal elements in the change.
Can you say a little more about that?
Well, sure. Like, okay, so I don't know if you've. This is like such a simple, maybe even simplistic example. But you're going up to speak for the first time in front of a group, and somebody that you care about, that cares for you, is there, and they give you a hug before you go on, and they say, "Go get him, Tiger. You're going to be great." And you go out, and indeed you do go get him, Tiger, and you are great. Right? It would be very easy to say, well, I was great because of the support of my very good friend. In fact, what happened, if we had a videotape of the inside of your head, is up until the point that they said that, you were thinking about all the different ways you were going to fail. You were thinking about all the things that could go wrong. You were making plans for your move to Canada when it went terribly wrong and the audience came after you. You know, your head was filled with horror stories that were making you feel horrible. And when your friend did that, your kind, loving friend, you stopped thinking about all that. And you fell out of that part of your mind. You fell out of that thinking, and you fell into the space within. You fell into the quiet that's inside all of us, underneath the noise. And from that space, we perform really well, regardless of the task at hand. It looks like it was your friend, but it was actually falling out of your conceptual mind and into the space within.
So, moving into this space within, I know that you've often said that we noise ourselves up.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely was fascinating to me, at least. I'm going to say it's absolutely fascinating. You can decide for yourself. But to me, the very first experience that I had of peace of mind that I recognized as such was while doing an NLP exercise. So there was this exercise where you're supposed to reach up in your mind and find the volume knob and turn down the volume on the voice in your head. And I did this exercise, and sure enough, I experienced this beautiful feeling of peace and quiet. And so in my mind, because I thought it was the technique that had done it, I thought, I need to learn everything about this. And I threw myself into NLP, and I became a practitioner, then a master practitioner, then a trainer, then a master trainer. And I made my life about more techniques that could create that kind of change. And I remember the day I was with Robert Holden, and we were hanging out in a hotel lobby, and it happened to be the hotel where I'd been at when I had that very first experience at that point, some 20 years earlier. And I had a holy cow moment where I realized, had somebody simply told me in that moment where I experienced peace of mind, this is your natural state of being, I would have saved myself 17 years of hard work. Right. But I didn't know that. So I worked at it for 17 years. I didn't realize that peace of mind is what's there when we're not noising ourselves up.
Yeah, it's a beautiful dovetail into what you were saying about effortless change. You know, it's like, this is what is wanting to happen, or what is wanting to be, and then we start complicating it.
It's what's natural, even though it's so not normal. But
yeah,
we
natural
confuse
versus
those two
normal.
words. Absolutely.
Yeah, we do.
We talk about things that are habitual as if they're natural. Natural means it's of our nature. It's what would happen without our interference. Normal means it's what we've learned or been conditioned to do and think. And because well-being is natural, resilience is natural, confidence is natural, creativity is natural. Hope is natural. So many of the things we work in the self-help industry to create are already there. And the only reason we aren't experiencing them more of the time is because we're up in our heads trying to create them.
Yeah.
You know, I used to say to my clients, wouldn't it be a shame to have a wonderful life and not notice? Because that's what I see so many of us have.
Right.
We have wonderful lives and we're not noticing them because we're on to the next goal, the next project, the next thing we've got to fix. And I'm not saying don't make the world a better place, don't create in the world. I'm all about that. But it's not because you need to be okay. It's not because you need to be happy. And in fact, happiness leads to success a hell of a lot more often than success leads to happiness. You only have to hang out in Hollywood for a week to see that.
Yeah, of course, because again, that's, it's the inside out piece that it's an inside job first, right?
Well, it is, but it's not even a job.
Okay, right.
Right,
Yes.
It's just actually, that's how it works. Our nature, underneath all of the ideas, right? Like, this is how I think about it. We were born happy, right? Babies don't need therapy. Right? So that piece of us, that's the learned bit. We learn to be unhappy. We learn all the reasons we should be unhappy.
Right.
We learn all the different ways to be unhappy. And it doesn't feel like thinking. It feels like, no, well, this is true. But it's just, it looks true because that's how thought works. Whatever the thinker thinks, the prover proves. Whatever we hold in thought, consciousness, like a special effects department in a movie, brings to life. And so it really does look true. It really does feel true. It really does feel like the sky is falling and the world is coming to an end and there's a time bomb ticking away if we don't change this, sort this out, or get to this goal. But actually, well, here's actually a way of doing it. I'm talking about it. So I have for now over 20 years offered all of my clients a money-back guarantee under one very specific set of circumstances, which is if their head explodes, I will give them their money back. And the reason that I offer that is because of the number of times somebody will say to me, God, when I even think about doing that, it feels like my head's going to explode. Well, here's the thing. It won't.
Right.
That's not what heads do. But it really does feel like it.
Yeah, I love that. Oh. So I want to move the conversation a little bit here into meditation, the space of meditation versus the act of meditating, because I've also heard you talk about meditating without meditation.
Probably meditation without meditating, but it's the same. But here's this was another one where I went, oh my God.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That emperor's naked too?
Right.
There is a space. I talk about it as the space within, or home, in my books. Sid Banks, one of my mentors, talked about it as pure consciousness uncontaminated by our personal thinking. But it is a space of infinite depth, infinite quiet, infinite capacity, infinite potential. It is our true nature. It is a space of meditation in the sense of meditation as stillness. Now, one of the ways throughout history that people have reliably accessed that space is through meditating, is through various types of meditation, repeating a mantra, holding the body still, focusing on breath, etc., etc., etc. Now, there also simultaneous to that have been traditions. Tibetan Buddhism is one of the ones I know the most about, Dzogchen, where their practice, and I'm using air quotes, which is always a great thing to do on a radio.
It's awesome to do on audio.
But I just thought I'd flag that. Can't help myself. I'm also 6'2", blonde, and devastatingly handsome. Just in case you're trying to picture me at home, people. But they have a concept they call undistracted non-meditation.
Undistracted non